All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 1883 Speaker Series. My name is Mike Wozniak, and I serve as the Director of Leadership Development here at the UND Department of Student Affairs, or Division of Student Affairs. So over the next 18 minutes and 83 seconds, we'll explore a new lesson in leadership and gain valuable insights to support both our professional and personal growth. For today's speaker, please join me in welcoming the head coach of the UND Football program, Eric Schmidt.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate everybody being here today. Excited to have an opportunity to talk about our culture in the football program. Culture to us is obviously really, really important. Sustained success in our program, it's talent and culture. And to me, if you have the right culture, it's going to help you and your players and your coaches and everybody in what we like to call the family business be able to perform beyond their talents. And that's something that is really, really important. One thing we like to do to start every meeting, we like to brand 701 in our organization. For us, it's just always good to be able to have participation when we start every meeting. So we start every meeting with the 701. I say 7. The entire team says units. That's 3 units on offense, 3 units on defense, and then our specialists 2 as well. I say 0. The team will say excuses. I say 1. And then they'll say goal. And that's how we get locked into every single meeting. It's active participation. It's important. It lets the guys know that it's time for us to be able to get to work. The other thing that I think is important before I get into our culture and talking about that is the vision. It's always what is your desired result before we start, really talking about our culture piece. And for us, it's really simple. I want playing at the University of North Dakota, playing football here, to be the absolutely most incredible experience of a young person's life, of a young man's life. They're going to go on to do way more important things than tackle people, than score touchdowns, than get interceptions, do all those types of things. They're going to go on to be husbands and fathers, and one day have to make decisions that their kids are going to rely on them for in order to be successful. So it's really important that when they leave after 4 or 5 years that they shake our hands and be like, Coach, that was the absolutely best decision of my life. And the goal is simple, all right? We want to be able to win our league, which is a really competitive league. We want to be able to win a national championship, but we want to be able to do it the right way. We want to be able to do it honestly. We want to be able to do it with class, with integrity, and with academic excellence. And that's something that our guys do a great job of working to get to that goal every single day. The last thing I'll talk about before I get into our culture stuff is the vision, the goal, and then the experience. I think this is really, really important if you're a prospective student athlete, if you're a recruit, somebody that we're recruiting, or if you're currently a member of our team. Should be the 5 things that you experience in our program. All right, number 1 is a world-class football education. Obviously, we got a lot of guys that football is really, really important to, so we want to make sure that we're developing those guys. Obviously, it's awesome when they show up when they're 18 years old and they're really good football players, but they got an opportunity if they follow the protocols of our program and do what we ask them to do to become the absolute best versions of themselves. And if that happens and you're 22 or 23 and you're elite, you got a chance to be able to really change your life, all right, and be able to make generational type money. Okay, the second thing is their personal development. Not only do we want them to grow athletically, we want them to grow academically. Their degree is going to have their name on it, ain't going to have my name on it, ain't going to have their parents' names on it. They're the ones who have to go earn that thing. We're going to help those guys. We're going to support them. They need to grow socially. One thing I'm really proud of, and this is awesome about living in a first-class community like Grand Forks, all of our seniors last year all did internships in the community. Obviously, there's an in-class education. I think that's really, really important. And then there's an out-of-class education. But for them to be able to develop, cultivate some of those relationships, when footballs end, we want them obviously to have an opportunity to be able to reach their football goals. But if that doesn't work for whatever reason, then we want them going pro in something, all right, when they leave UND. And then the last thing is we want them to grow spiritually too as well. And obviously when you're sitting in a room with 18 to 23-year-olds, 107 of them, and they're from all different parts of the country, raised a lot of different ways. That means a lot of things for a lot of different people. But for me, it's our coaches. The most important thing is that we model the way. When they're in a position meeting, when they're in a head coaches meeting, in a team meeting, whatever it is, that when those coaches are out in front of our players, that they see God in those coaches. And that's really important to me, that they see good mentors and they see people who they want to emulate later on in their lives. All right? How does this happen? How do we strive for success every single day? It's relentless pursuit of continuous improvement. Like, that's what we're about. I think in any organization that you're in, if you attack it the right way, this is how you get marginally better. Everybody has blind spots. Everybody needs truth tellers in their lives. They need mentors in their lives. And for us, it's really important that we do a good job of making sure that I always talk to our guys. They come from a lot of different parts of the country. But when they get to Grand Forks, the way I see our coaches' relationships with them is we're all an extra set of uncles in Grand Forks for them, all right? And we're the real uncles. We're going to tell them where they're meeting the standard, and we're going to tell them where they need to get better. But that growth mindset that everybody in our organization has, I think is really, really important, and it's how we get better, all right? And then the last piece I'll say that I think is really important for any college athlete or anybody in any organization, like, there's a job description that you have, but you really need to master your plan, all right? Like, that's the most important thing. For us, we have one team rule. It's be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to do, and do it with perfect effort. You do that, academics will go better. Football's sure as heck gonna go better, all right? You know, your strength conditioning relationships will go better. Everything will go better. But our guys have to do a great job of being able to master their plan. They might, you know, have a different health and nutrition plan than their teammate. They might be part of a different part of the game plan than their teammate. They might have a different academic plan depending on their major than their teammate. They have to do a great job of being able to master that plan, all right? Job responsibilities for coaches, it's really easy. Teach, critique, and demand, all right? Like elite teaching, I get an opportunity to be able to watch our guys teach every single day. To me, it's communication, all right? It's being able, our players to be able to give feedback, our players really to be able to teach what their coaches are teaching them, all right, throughout the fall and into the winter months too as well. Critique, if you want to be elite in anything, I think you want feedback, you want to get better, you want to get coached. That's how you add more tools to your tool belt. And then demand. And I think, you know, our coaches do a great job of this. I've been around it for a long time. I think a great coach could take a player and a person to a place where he can't get to on his own, all right, and demanding the standard every single day, all right? The player's job is to grind, refine, compete, all right? You get to do this, all right? You don't have to do it. So for us, it's really important that you come with that mindset every single day. The refine piece, we're starting doing things right now football-wise, and it's the same exact things that we're doing now that we'll be doing in December, all right? So it's polishing, it's refining, it's getting really, really good, all right, at the details of what your job is, and then it's competing. And for me, it's not necessarily competing against all the other guys that are in your position room. It's not competing against all the other teams that are in your conference. It's competing against that person in the mirror, all right, and becoming the best version of you. Like, that is our jobs, all right, as coaches, to be able to get those guys to become the best versions of themselves, all right? Our culture, okay, something that's really important to me, okay, the first thing we talk about, like, you know, we'll start a meeting all the time and I'll have the guys raise their hands. I'm like, how many of you guys want to go to the NFL one day? And as you can imagine, there's 107 guys in the room, all 107 guys, they'll raise their hands, all right? The second thing we ask is, like, who wants to be a millionaire? Everybody raises their hand, right? Like, who doesn't want to be able to be a millionaire? Well, guess what? You're not in control of that, all right? You're not. The only thing that you're in control of is your daily disciplines and your daily habits, all right? Like, that is what we concentrate. We are not outcome-oriented at all. We are process-oriented, all right? Every single day, all right, what we're doing, we call it going 1-0. Win a meeting, win a practice, win whatever you're doing that day and keep stacking those 1-0s, and that's how you're going to get, all right, the desired outcomes that you want. But it's those daily disciplines, it's those daily behaviors that we have to do a great job of that are going to help us get to where we want to get to. And I think Bill Walsh has said it the best, like, champions behave like champions way before the championships. Okay, our culture has 3 non-negotiables. Number 1 is be truthful, all right? Secrets are lies, all right, all the time. We got to do a great job of making sure that our guys understand honesty is the policy, all right? If you do something not up to the standard, you need to own it, all right? And then we move on from there. But even in our coaches' offices, like, if you came to our offices, I don't want our coaches in their offices with the door shut, you know what I mean, on the phone. That's just not how we're going to operate, all right, every single day. Like, we want to be able to do a great job of being truthful. The second thing is no BCD, no blame, complain, defend, all right? Anytime that I have a meeting with a player in these situations, I would say 99% of the time when there's BCD going on, it's one of the players or somebody in our organization that didn't meet the standard that we have for them, and they're trying to justify it, all right, to one of their teammates, all right, or to one of their coaches. It wasn't that big of a deal. So to me, like, hey, eliminate it. If our players and our coaches can eliminate BCD in their life, they're going to have a better opportunity to be, you know, successful in all walks of their life. It doesn't help any relationships. It's never solved a problem, nothing like that. And then the last piece of it is be on time. I think your life is really, really long. Your football life is really, really short. So every single day, all right, what we're doing, it's really important. If a meeting's supposed to start at, you know what I mean, 1 o'clock, then the meeting needs to start at 1 o'clock, and everybody needs to be there and on time and respecting one another. Okay, there's a personal ownership piece to this. I call it the performance pathway, all right? This is a huge piece to our culture. To me, culture is 1,000% leadership, all right? If I put a word on top of that first arrow in between leaders and culture, the word would be creates, all right? Leaders create your culture, okay? If I put a word above that second arrow in between culture and behaviors, it would be drives, all right? Your culture drives your behaviors. It drives your disciplines, all right? And then the last arrow, it would be that produces your results, all right? There's a pathway to success that I think is very, very important, and it starts with leadership, all right? Who are leaders? Anybody can be a leader. To me, there's 3 things you need to have in order to be a leader. Number 1, you got to want to do it, all right? You can't ask somebody to go do something that they're not comfortable doing, all right? So you got to want to lead. Number 2, you got to be able to communicate. And number 3, you got to be authentic, all right? Like, I don't want you reading a leadership book and then just regurgitating it back to me, all right? I want you to be you, all right, in your leadership style and who you are. But the leadership part of it is really, really important, all right? There's 3 core beliefs that we have, okay? When we talk about core beliefs, like, hey, what do those mean? Like, they give you purpose. They give you energy. You believe it in your bones. In the core of your body, all right, is what a core belief is to me, all right? And we have 3 of these things that we live by every single day, all right? The first one is be a junkyard dog. So JYD to us, all right, are the guys who burn the hottest, the guys who are, you know, the top performers in our organization. It's not just football-wise. It's in all aspects of their lives. Okay, the second thing is cover and move. And the third thing is blue-collar nasty, all right? So I talk about being a junkyard dog. It, once again, comes back to that relentless pursuit of continuous improvement. It's about having a growth mindset. It's about every single day, all right, trying to get inch by inch better, all right, in all aspects of your life. And to me, when we talk about the process, like, it's compounding interest, all right? This is how our people in our organization, all right, separate themselves from everybody else that's doing the same things that we're doing right now, okay? It's uninterrupted investing in the right things over a long period of time. That's how you create that separation, and that's what our guys are doing. That's what going 1-0, all right, is all about. Day in and day out, it's compounding interest, okay? Number 2 is cover and move together, all right? You got 107 guys. You're doing a lot of different things, transitioning from one drill to another drill, from one weight room to a field, whatever that looks like. Like, we have got to be able to do a great job of doing things together, all right? We have a rule on our team. It seems really simple, right? We got a lot of teammates that live together. If you are at a workout and somebody that you live with is not at that workout and they were home when you left, if there's a consequence for the person who was late, there's going to be a consequence for you too as well. Like, you need to help your teammate be able to get to that workout on time, all right? I've never understood how you can leave somebody in your house, all right, or in your apartment when they're supposed to be at the same thing that you're supposed to be at. So once again, the leadership part of it, I think the core beliefs are really, really important. All right, and then the last thing that's important to me, all right, is just blue-collar nasty. All right, like football for us, there's a physical element to it. You need to put in real work. It takes what it takes. You want to be a great football player, you got to play football. That means you're going to get sore, you're going to bang, you're going to do all those types of things. But at the end of the day, if you follow the protocols of our program, you're going to have a great chance to be able to hear your name on draft night. All right, I really believe that. I've seen it happen a lot of times in the places that I've been, and I just always say the work works. All right, you got to put in real, intentional work. You do that, it creates real confidence. All right, and a great example, all right, of work works is Steph Curry. Okay, I'm a huge NBA fan. All right, I don't know if there's
Any other NBA fans out here? I'm a huge NBA fan, except for All-Star Weekend now. Have you guys watched All-Star Weekend? Like when I grew up, the dunk contest was awesome. All right, Kobe did the dunk contest. Michael Jordan obviously did the dunk contest. Vince Carter did the dunk contest. Now the best players don't do it anymore, right? It's a little bit of what's different with this generation than past generations. Anybody have any idea why the best players don't do the dunk contest anymore? Don't want to get hurt. I would say don't want to get their feelings hurt. They're scared to look bad, all right? That's the problem with young people nowadays. Like, hey, try something new, all right? You might not look the best at it. You got to try to be able to learn a new skill, do those types of things. But Steph Curry, all right, for those of you that don't know him, was not a great high school basketball player. He's good. He wasn't great, okay? His dad was an NBA sharpshooter. Del Curry told his son, like, hey, if you're ever going to be great, all right, it ain't going to be because you're blowing by people and dunking and that you're more athletic than everybody else. You need to become the best shooter, all right, that you can become. All right, obviously today now he's the most prolific three-point shooter in the history of the NBA. But his plan was this. His dad told him, hey, you need to take 500 shots a day, okay? This is his freshman year of high school. You need to take 500 shots a day and do them game-like, all right? So that's 500 shots a day started in 2002, okay? That's 3,500 shots per week, all right, three-pointers. That's 15,000 three-pointers in a month, okay? 186,000 in a year. He's been doing this now for 21 years. That's 4 million three-pointers he's shot. People show up early to games to watch him be able to shoot in his routine. When I talk about real work, all right, and the work works, he's the all-time leading three-point shooter in the history of the NBA. He's made 4,233, okay? That is less than 1/10 of 1% of what he's practiced over the last 22 years, okay? There's a reason he's the best shooter, okay? He's put the most time in, he's put the most work in it, okay? And how do you grade guys? How do you able to obviously, you know what I mean, we're not out watching guys shoot 500 three-pointers a year. So there's different ways, different metrics I think that you can use, all right? We use what's called a starving board in our organization, okay? We have everybody, all right, that's graded every single day by our strength staff. They're graded by our coaches, all those things. They all start unsatisfied, okay? And then there's a bell curve, all right, that a lot of people end up in hungry, and then just a few people end up, all right, the best of the best on starving, all right? And we grade those guys every single day, okay? So they'll get a dietitian grade by just taking vitamins and supplements. They'll get a grade 1, 2, or 3 from their position coach, from the coordinator on that side of the ball, and then from our strength people too as well. And it's a simple grading system, okay? It's 1, 2, or 3. If you're a 1 outfit, all right, that usually means that you're below the standard, okay? You weren't paying attention, you know, you showed up late, you didn't finish all your reps, things like that. If you're a 2, you met the standard, all right, of what we're looking for. And then if you're a 3, you're just above the standard, all right? Like what you're doing is adding to the environment, all right? To me, like that is the big ask. I'm gonna go through this in a second, but that's the biggest thing, all right? A lot of people are doing the very similar stuff to what we're doing in our family business right now. It's the environment that's different, all right? It needs to be different. And then we grade them in the weight room too as well, and we grade them very similar, all right, in the weight room. It's either a 1, 2, or a 1, a 0, or a +1, all right, in those situations. Okay, the last thing I'll talk about when it comes to any organization, all right, I was an assistant coach for over 20 years in football, okay, before I became a head coach. When you're an assistant coach, like you find out who the real guys are, okay, like who's really developing guys, who's helping guys be able to become the best versions of themselves, to turn into pros, who's really helping with game plans, all that kind of stuff. Like you're in the trenches every single day, all right? Over my time here, okay, of doing this, like there's 12 what I call gospels of the gridiron that I think correlate to any business that you're in, all right? The first one is this, all right, model the way. If I want my football team to be disciplined, then guess what? I need to be disciplined, all right? If I want my football team to be punctual, then I need to be punctual, all right? Like it's your job as a leader, all right? Whatever that blank is for you and your organization, like that's what needs to happen, all right, in your organization in order for you to be successful, okay? Number 2, this is the big ask. I don't care if you're an equipment person in our organization. I don't care if you're an athletic trainer, nutrition, sports science, whatever it is. It's all about the environment. Like our guys show up every day, and we're doing a lot of hard things right now. Talking about culture, how do you build a brotherhood? You do hard things together, all right, with your brothers. That's how you're going to get close, okay? But the big ask is this, like, can you bring your best energy to work every day? What is energy to me? all right? It is effort and focus, all right? If we can do that, that's how our guys, once again, are going to be able to get better than their competition, okay? Number 3 is controls for amateurs, right? Big NBA guy, you think, J.J. Redick really runs the Lakers? Like, J.J. Redick doesn't run the Lakers, all right? He's not the coach of that team, right? Like what Lucas says, what LeBron says, all right? They got ownership, all that kind of stuff. You are not here to control your players, all right? We're here to partner with our players. We're here to find out what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and how can we make them the best versions of them, all right? It's a partnership between a coach and a player. Like I said, we're all an extra set of uncles for these guys in Grand Forks, all right? Helping them, mentoring them, showing them the blind spots and where they can get better in their lives, okay? The magic of compounding interest. I said that before. Like what we're doing now is the same things that we're going to be doing, all right, play-wise, all the way in December and January of next year. So it's that uninterrupted investing, all right, in the right things is how we're going to become the best versions of ourselves, all right? A lot of things in coaching, all right, especially in football, but in all things, in any job, you have to develop some fundamentals and some skills in order to be really, really good. All right, there's a reason they put coach before our name. All right, we have to teach all those things. But to me, the most important skill, the most important fundamental that we can coach is to make somebody have belief in themselves and confidence in themselves. All right, like if you start going down that path where all of a sudden, you second guess yourself, what we like to say in our family is don't let a negative thought ever complete itself in your mind. All right? Don't let a negative thought ever complete itself in your mind. As soon as you start thinking to yourself, start talking to yourself. All right? Like that is really, really important for us. But our job as coaches, all right, is to help these guys be able to have belief and confidence in what they're doing. Okay? We're trying to create the most challenging practices that we can, all right, so they can get better with their skills. But also we want to be able to do a good job of making them the safest practices that we can. All right, skill development is an ugly process, okay? I'm telling you right now, like it takes time. That's once again why they put coach before your name. I tell our guys all the time, don't be the angry farmer, all right? Don't be the guy who I'm watering my crops all year long. They don't grow until the end, all right? I'm not enjoying my job, all those things. Like I think it's really important, all right, that you do a good job, all right, of understanding, hey, skill development's going to take some time, all right? Keep pouring into these young people, and they're going to get better. You got to be able to teach a failure process, all right? It's going to happen. You're going to fail, all right? You can't be afraid to fail. I think, hey, when it does happen, you got to be able to own it, all right? You got to be able to flush it, and you got to be able to move on to the next thing. So I think those are really important things, all right? And then how you come back and how you respond is really important, okay? You got to get everybody involved. There's going to be leaders. Okay, there's going to be people that you count on that are your best players, that are your most vocal guys. We had a thing in our organization where we gave out the elite numbers, 7, 0, and 1, all right, so who we thought were the elite players, the elite people in our organization, all right? 2 of those guys were starters, were as good as anybody. They're all Americans. They're as good as anybody in their position in the league. The third guy, all right, was just the guy who did his job better than anybody else. He played, but he didn't play a ton, all right, for us. But he had the respect of his teammates, all right? He was really the best teammate that we had in our organization. So I think it's important that you get everybody involved, all right, when you do these things, all right? Keep it simple. I think simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Don't try to make this stuff any harder, all right, than it needs to be, okay? You could spoil your talent when you get them out on the field and they're thinking too much, okay? The separations and the preparation, I think anything that you do, all right, it's not, hey, what you're willing to do at the time of the contest. It's what you're willing to do before that, okay? Joe Montana, there's a great example about Joe. All right, he played for the 49ers forever. Back in those days, the rookies came in a week before the veterans. Every year that he played for the 49ers, over a decade, he reported with the rookies, all right? And this is a guy who was the best quarterback maybe to ever play in the NFL because he wanted to learn and be taught just like a rookie every single year and learn what each one of those plays, all right, what the progressions were, all those types of things, okay? The 11th one is your ego's not your amigo, okay? To me, like there's a difference between having a big ego and having a strong ego, all right? Just because we had a lot of players that are good players, a lot of really good coaches, all that kind of stuff. We're not telling you to think less of yourself, okay? We're just telling you to think about yourself less, okay? To me, like, once again, hey, it's great to think you're really, really good, but strong egos to me, like I get to be part of a team that's the best at this, or I get to be part of a backfield that's the best in this, or I get to be part of a, academic team that's better than anybody else's. Like I'm part of something that's bigger than me. That's the difference between big ego and strong ego, all right? And then the last thing for us that we believe in is, hey, great teams are built in practice, okay? Like it's deliberate training, it's fundamentals, it's situational football. It's that daily grind, those daily habits, those daily disciplines, all right, is how our guys grow and get better. So that's our culture. Those are things that I think are really important when it comes to leading our organization. Do you guys have any questions or anything like that for me? All right, thanks for your time.
Perfect. Thanks, Coach. Thanks to all of you for coming. Join us 1 month from today on March 25th when we welcome Associate Vice President, Chair of the Math Department, and Co-Chair of the UND Leads Implementation Team, Dr. Ryan Zier. Have a great rest of your week.